Hello my dear students. So in today's session we are going to discuss the exercise of chapter number 5, that is language of chemistry. So till now we have discussed some very important theoretical concepts and the titles and topics of this chapter. Now we are going to do a quick brain exercise in today's session. So the first question is on your screen. The first question says that take the most appropriate answer. The first part in this question is which of the following has variable valencies. So we have studied that some elements consist of variable valencies. Options are sodium, calcium, copper and chlorine. Firstly we are going to talk about sodium. So sodium has a valency of 1, calcium has a valency of 2. When we are going to talk about copper, copper has variable valency of 1, 2. Chlorine has a valency of 1. So you can clearly see that option number C, that is copper, contributes variable valency, that is 1, 2. So that's why option number C, copper, is the correct answer. Now we are going to move with the next question. Which of the following is a potassium ion? The options are option number A, K3 positive, option number B, K2 positive, option number C, K positive, and option number D, K. So you know that the atomic number of potassium element is 19. So according to the atomic number, the electronic configuration becomes 2, 8, 8, 1. So you can see that in the outermost shell there is only one electron. Okay, so potassium will want to stable itself, and in the penultimate shell it has complete octet. So what will it do? It will just donate the one electron from its outermost shell and it will form a positive ion. So as it's donating only one electron, so that's why it will form one positive ion. So option number C, that is K positive, will be the right answer for this question, that is K positive. Now we are going to move with the next question, that is which of the following is a nitrite ion? Option number A, NO2 negative, option number B, NO3 negative, option number C, NO negative, and option number D, NO2. So when we are talking about nitrite ion, we have studied in the chapter that it is denoted by the formula NO2 negative. So that's why option number A will be the right answer for this question. Now we are going to move with the next question, that is question number 4. What is the chemical formula of ammonia? So ammonia is formed by the reaction of nitrogen and hydrogen. So you can see options are NH2, NH, N2H and NH3. But we have studied that when N2 reacts with H2, it forms twice NH3, that is ammonia. So the formula for ammonia is what? NH3. So you can just see here that option number D, NH3, will be the right answer for this question. Now we are going to move with the next question. What is the product of the following reaction? So the reaction says that carbon reacts with oxygen. Okay, so when carbon reacts with oxygen, then what will the product? Option number A is C, option number B, O2, option number C, CO2, option number D, all of these. So we have studied that when carbon reacts with oxygen, it forms carbon dioxide. So option number C, that is carbon dioxide, will be the right answer. So now we will move with the next question. What is the coefficient of MgO in the following reaction? The reaction is given on your screen and you have to find out the coefficient of magnesium oxide, that is MgO. Option number A is 1, option number B is 2, option number C is 3 and option number D is 0. So you have to just do what? You have to balance the equation. When we will balance the equation, you can see on the right hand side there is only one atom of oxygen and on the left hand side there are two atoms of oxygen. So what we have to do, we can just multiply this oxygen with 2, then it will become 2. So you can write it as Mg plus O2 gives twice MgO. Now you can see there are two atoms of magnesium here and there is only one atom of magnesium over here. So you have to multiply with 2 over here also. Now the equation is balanced and you can see that the coefficient of magnesium oxide is 2. So option number B, that is 2, will be the right answer for this question. Now we are going to move with the next question that is given on your screen. Fill in the blanks. The part first says that the dash of an element is the one or two letter abbreviation of its name. So we have studied whenever we are just symbolizing any element. So any element is represented with its symbol, that is the one or two letter abbreviation of its full name. So what is the answer here? The answer will be the symbol of an element is the one or two letter abbreviation of its name. Now we are moving with the next part. An atom that loses one or more electrons to form a positive ion is called a dash. So we have studied that whenever any element loses or gains electrons, it forms a charged particle that is known as ion. And ion has two categories, positively charged ion and negatively charged ion. So positively charged ion is known as cation and negatively charged ion is known as anion. Whenever any element donates the electron, it forms positively charged ion and it is named as cation. And whenever any element gains electrons, so it will form negatively charged ion and will be known as anion. So here in the part second, it is said that an atom that loses one or more electrons to form a positive ion is called a cation. You can see here it is written. So you have to write here cation. Now the third part says that the dash of a compound is a symbolic representation of its composition. When we are going to talk about a compound, let's just take an example. If I say you that you have to form a compound aluminium chloride, so you will represent it as AlCl3. Obviously we know the formula of aluminium chloride. The part is asking you that the dash of a compound is a symbolic representation of its composition. So this is a compound and this is a symbolic representation of this compound. So what does this symbolic representation known as? This is known as chemical formula. I hope you got the point. So that is why you have to write here chemical formula. Okay. Now the fourth part says that the representation of a chemical reaction by using the symbols and formula of the reactants and the products involved in a reaction is called its chemical dash. So whenever we are representing a chemical reaction, let's just have an example. We are using C plus O2 and it will form CO2. So this is completely known as a chemical reaction. Why? Because here you can see that there are reactants which are reacting with each other and they are giving us products. So this way of representation of a chemical reaction is known as chemical equation. So you have to write here chemical equation. I hope you are enjoying the exercise and you are understanding each and every question. Now we are going to move with the next parts. That is, if the number of atoms of each element on both the sides of a chemical equation is equal, then the equation is called a dash chemical equation. Let's just have an example. If I have Mg plus O2 and it gives MgO. So you can see that there are two atoms of oxygen on this side and there is only one atom of oxygen on this side. So we can say that this chemical reaction is not balanced. That is why this is a unbalanced chemical equation. But when we want to balance the equation, what we have to do? We have to just multiply this whole compound with 2. Because here you can see that there is only one atom of oxygen, and when you will multiply with 2, then you will get 2 atoms of oxygen. Okay, so then the formula becomes what? Or the equation becomes what? Mg plus O2 gives twice MgO. Now you can see that there are 2 atoms of magnesium here. but on the other side there is only one atom, so you will multiply 2 with here also. So this is the complete balanced equation. So you can see that all the elements on the left hand side and right hand side have equal number of atoms. So this equation is known as balanced chemical equation. Okay, so the part is saying that if the number of atoms of each element on both the sides of a chemical equation is equal, then the equation is called a balanced chemical equation, obviously. So you should write here balanced chemical equation. Now the next part says that a dash is a number that we place in front of a symbol or formula in an equation. You can see here in this equation, when we are putting 2 in front of MgO and when we are putting 2 in front of magnesium. So what does these numbers are called? These numbers are known as coefficients. Okay, so you should write what? A coefficient is a number that we place in front of a symbol or formula in an equation. I hope you got the point. Now we are going to move with the next question, that is dash is neither created nor destroyed during a chemical reaction. Bacho, we have studied the law of conservation of mass, and what we have studied in that law? We have studied that mass is neither created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction or during a chemical reaction. So that's why you should write what here? You should write mass is neither created nor destroyed during a chemical reaction. Okay, so mass will be the correct answer over here. I hope you are understanding the questions and you are getting the point and you are getting the sense. Now we are going to move with the next question, that is write true or false for the following statements. You have to write true or false for the given statements in front of them. The first statement says that iron has only one valency. When we talk about iron, that is Fe, the symbol of iron is represented as Fe by its Latin name, that is ferrum. Okay, and we have studied that iron is an element that has variable valency. Variable valencies, and those variable valencies are what? Those variable valencies are 2, 3. So it has variable valency of 2, 3. But in the statement you can see that it is written iron has only one valency. So this statement will be a false statement. So you have to write here false. Now the next part is when an atom loses or gains electrons. Whenever any atom is losing or gaining any electron, so what does happen? It will gain a charge and it will form a ion, obviously. So it is written it becomes a charged particle. Exactly, it becomes a charged particle. So this statement is true. Now the next part says that an atom that gains one or more electrons to form a negative ion is called a cation. Firstly, we should understand that what are cation and what are anion. Whenever any atom, let's just say sodium, okay, it has a valency of 2, 8, 1. So for becoming stable, it will just lose its one electron, okay, and it will form Na positive ion, and this will be known as cation. So positively charged ion are known as cation, but when we talk about chlorine, it has a valency of 2, 8, 7. So for becoming stable and for completing its octet, it will just gain some electron or gain one electron and it will form Cl negative ion, that is anion. So negatively charged ion will be known as anion. So you can see in the statement it is written that an atom that gains one or more electrons to form a negative ion is called a cation. No, it is known as anion. So that's why this statement is a false statement. Now moving on to the next statement, it asks that a hydroxide ion is a polyatomic ion. Firstly, tell me that what is a polyatomic ion? We have studied during the lecture that a polyatomic ion is an ion that consists of two or more atoms with an overall positive or negative charge. Okay, so a polyatomic ion is an ion that consists of two or more atoms with an overall positive or negative charge. Exactly. And when we talk about hydroxide ion, so how does we represent hydroxide ion? Firstly, tell me that. We just represent it by the formula OH negative. So you can see in this ion there is one atom of oxygen and another atom of hydrogen. So I have already told you, whenever any ion consists of two or more atoms of the elements, that ion is known as polyatomic ion. So this will be a polyatomic ion. So this statement becomes a true statement. Okay, now we are moving with the next statement that is given on your screen. Statement number 5 says that the chemical formula of different compounds, whenever we are writing a chemical formula of different compound, can be written easily if the symbols and the valencies of the elements are known. So we can write the chemical formula of a compound when we know the elementary symbols as well as the valencies of those particular elements. Exactly, it's correct statement, but let me just elaborate it further. If I want to write the formula of sodium chloride, so what should be known? The symbol of sodium is Na and the symbol for chlorine will be Cl. So firstly, we should know the symbols of the element and then we should consider the valency as well. So valency for sodium is 1, or we can say the charge for sodium is +1 and the charge for chlorine is -1. When they just interchange their charges or valencies, they will form a compound NaCl. So you can see it is written in the statement that the chemical formula can be only written when we know the symbols and the valencies of those particular elements that is forming the compound. Okay, so this statement is also a true statement. Now we are going to move with the next question, that is statement number 6, which says that the law of conservation of mass states that mass is created during a chemical reaction. No, this is not correct, because we know that the law of conservation of mass states that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed during a chemical reaction. So you have to write here false. I hope you are getting the point. Now we are going to move with the next part, that is, if heat is evolved during the reaction, it is endothermic. We have studied in previous chapters that whenever heat is absorbed during a chemical reaction, that reaction is known as what? Endothermic reaction. Exactly. But whenever heat is evolved or released, that reaction is known as exothermic reaction. So you can clearly see in the statement it is stated that if heat is evolved during the reaction, it is endothermic. No, it is exothermic. So that's why you should write false here. So these are the true and false statement, and we have stated true and false in front of them. Now we are going to move with the next question that is given on your screen, matching the columns. You have to match the first column with the second column. Okay, so the first column, there is a part that is positively charged ion, but you tell me that what is the positively charged ion known as? Cation or anion? It's known as cation. Exactly. So in the second column you can see that option number E, that is cation, written over here. So you have to write 1 in front of it. This will be the correct answer for it. Now the second part says ZnS. What is ZnS known as? Zinc sulfide, because it has zinc as well as sulfur, and the combination of these two elements will form a compound that will known as zinc sulfide. So you can see in the second column, option number D, that is zinc sulfide, is written over here. You have to write 2 in front of it because it is the right answer for this part. Now the third part says valency. So what is a valency? Valency is that number of any element, the number of electrons that it wants to gain or donate. it is represented always in a whole number. So that's why you can see in the second column, option number F is written as whole number. So this will be the correct answer for this part. So you should write 3 in front of it. Now the next part is MnO2. MnO2 is used always as a catalyst in the chemical reactions. So you can see in the second part, option number C, catalyst, is written over here. So you have to write 4 in front of it. Now the next part says S2 negative. What is this? This is an anion. You can see here it is written sulfide ion. No, sulfide ion formula is different. It's not the sulfide ion, it's an anion. You can see there are 2 negative charges over it. So this is an anion. So you can see in the second column, option number B, that is anion, is written over here. So you have to just match it with anion, that is option number B. You can write 5 in front of it. So these are the correct answers for these parts. Now we are going to move with the next question that is given on your screen. Write the formula for the following. The first part says aluminium chloride. When we talk about aluminium chloride, firstly we have to write the symbol, that is Al, and symbol for chlorine is Cl. Now you have to write the valencies of each and every element just down. So the valency for aluminium is +3 and the valency for chlorine is -1, or you can say charge also. You have to write the symbols firstly and then you have to write the valency or charge. Okay, so after it they will just interchange the charges and valencies and they will form a compound. That will be the formula for this compound, that is aluminium chloride, AlCl3. Okay, next part is saying magnesium hydroxide. So you have to write the symbol of magnesium as well as hydroxide ion. So magnesium ion is written as Mg and hydroxide ion is written as OH. These are the symbols. Under the symbols you have to write the valency or charges. So the charge on magnesium ion is +2 and the charge on hydroxide ion is -1. So when they interchange their charges, they will form a compound that will be known as MgOH whole twice, that is magnesium hydroxide. So these are the formulas for aluminium chloride and magnesium hydroxide. Now we are going to move with the next part of this question, that is calcium chloride. You have to write the formula of calcium chloride. Firstly, you have to write down the symbol of calcium and chlorine. So the symbol for calcium is Ca and the symbol for chlorine is Cl. Now you have to write the valency or charge on it. Charge on the particular element. So calcium has +2 valency and chlorine has -1 valency. When they interchange their charges or valencies, they will form a compound CaCl2 and this compound is known as calcium chloride. So this is the formula of calcium chloride. Now we are moving with the next part, that is copper second oxide. Firstly, you have to understand that why it is written copper second. Because copper has variable valency of 1, 2. That is copper contains a valency of, copper has a valency of 1 and 2. Okay, so that's why it is written copper second oxide. So you have to take the valency as 2 because it is written second here. Okay, now we are writing the symbols and valencies for the formation of the compound. So you have to write the symbol. Copper symbol is Cu and oxide, that is oxygen, symbol is O. Now you have to write the valency or charge. So copper's valency is given here 2 and oxygen's valency is also 2. You have to just interchange the valencies, then the formula becomes Cu2O2. But you can see 2 and 2, there is a ratio of 2:2. It goes to, it is cancelled by 2. Now the formula becomes CuO. So this is the particular formula for copper oxide. Now we are going to move with the next part of this question, that is sodium carbonate. You have to write the formula of sodium carbonate. Firstly, you have to write the symbol of sodium and carbonate ion. Symbol So the symbol for sodium is Na and for carbonate is CO3. Now the charges or the valency they have. So the valency or charge on Na is +1 and the charge on CO3 is -2. So when they just interchange their charges, they will form a compound that will be Na2CO3, and this compound is known as sodium carbonate. So this is the particular formula for sodium carbonate given on your screen. Now the next part is iron second sulfide. So you can see it is written iron second, but why? Because iron has a variable valency of 2, 3. So you have to write 2 as the valency over here because it is written second. Firstly, you have to write the symbols iron and sulfur. Now you have to write the valency. So valency of iron is taken as 2 and sulfur's valency is also 2. When they combine with each other, they will form a compound Fe2S2. Now 2 is cancelled to 2 and the final formula becomes FeS, that is iron second sulfide. Okay, so these are the formulas for the particular compounds. We have solved these questions. I hope you understood all the questions. So in the second part of the exercise of this chapter, we are going to discuss some more important questions. Till then, revise each and every question and the theoretical concepts. Take care. Thank you and bye-bye.